Hello, everybody. This is Nathaniel, and I just thought I would take some time today to talk about three parts of an astrology chart that I consider to be the Holy Trinity when we talk about somebody's identity. And I figured I'd go live today just because it makes it easier and more fluid, and I don't feel like I should retake everything. So, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant, if you are familiar with an astrology part, you know that those are 3 points that we look at, and those are the 3 points that are the most related to a person's identity. All of the planets have something to say about us, and we are all 12 signs in some way or another. But those three are kind of a core that synthesizes to our identity. So I want to take a look at those three. I'm going to look at them from a few different angles. The sun, in a lot of ways, represents how we want to be seen. It's a part of our identity that's kind of the showboat. It's shining, it's bright, it's how we want to express ourselves in the environment. The moon is more of an internal aspect of ourself that's related to security. It's what a person needs in order to feel secure. And then the ascendant is how the person moves forward, how they take action, how they initiate their identity into the environment. So those three key parts, people don't realize that they are very much more their moon sign than any other sign in a lot of ways. The moon is very habitual. It's based on a person's past energies and things that have congealed. So we see things just like with moons and tides and habits and rhythms and patterns. We kind of we express our moon sign in the habits in our life. It's a habitual way of being. It's a way that we tend to act that is familiar. And moon is also related to our past. So if you believe in past lives and stuff, then there's a lot of energy from the past that kind of puts itself together into a moon sign that is what's familiar for us. It's also more linked to our personality. When you get into esoteric astrology, the moon is referred to as the prison of the soul, because it can keep somebody in the personality, mundane, physical, material, all of that side of life. So even though the moon is arguably a water planet, that it's emotional, there's a very much of an earthy side to it. It's like our physical identity, the brick and mortar part of our personality in this world. The sun is our identity too. And it can also be our ego. We can think of someone having a big ego, a big sun sign, how we want to shine, but it's also the soul. So the moon, in some respect, esoterically, is the prison of the soul. The sun is kind of a transcendent side of the identity that is all the best things about whatever sign it is. It's like the higher self. It's like the holy guardian angel, the Christ conscious potential. So the sun can be in any of those 12 signs. So there is that bright, shining, higher self potential that's part of that sun sign. So the moon sometimes is those habits and those patterns that we accumulate from the past that can sometimes keep us wrapped up in our own subjective moon-based reality, so that we just want to keep doing those things that are comfortable. We just want to have, food to eat and shelter and our needs and feel secure, and all those personality experience things are related to the moon by sign and house position. Whereas the sun goes a little bit more expressive. It's a higher sense of ourself. It has a higher potential in its expression. They do work together, though. The moon sign, while it may be the prison of the soul esoterically, it's also a vessel of service. So, at its best, our moon sign is how the personality puts itself into an environment in a way that is of service. It's down here doing the work on the 3D level. Um, so they do have to work together. So we can see that in the fact that the moon is the esoteric ruler of Virgo, which is where those energies are perfected, where the perfecting the personality as a vehicle of service takes place. And then hierarchically, the moon is the ruler of Aquarius, which is symbolic of the person. Your physical experience is ultimately designed to be of worthwhile collective value to everybody. It's that it's the to become the water bearer that pours the water out upon all humanity. So those are parts of how that moon does act in service, but at the same time, it can become a prison if we only are feeding our subjective appetites, if we're too concerned about our domestic, internal, personal, subjective security. That's when the moon can become kind of like something that's hard to break free of to reach out beyond. The moon is so much of this incubating energy of me and my personal space and all of that. The sun is shining, is bright, is outgoing. So it's the part of the personality that expresses itself. It puts itself forward in the environment. The sun is also the planet that is generating life force. It's generating vitality. The sun is outgoing and giving. It's generating with its energy. So your sun sign and that sun part of your identity is how do you generate enlivenment, generate energy that you generously give and express and put out there into the environment to shine. And so that's that part of our sun. So we're all expressing our sun um, in bigger and brighter and clearer ways. And the moon, our personality down here that's running around the brick and mortar part, is the vehicle of service. So we act in service according to the moon while we shine and express and enliven through the energy of the sun. Um, the ascendant. So the ascendant sometimes kind of just gets looked at as okay, your ascendant sign is maybe I see a lot of things saying it's your body, it's your physicality, and that can be some of it. I also think the moon we can see that congeal, and you can kind of see all of it. We're a composite of all 12 signs, so it's really hard, I think, to play guess the ascending sign or a sun sign on somebody because we are so many parts. But the ascendant does have to do with our body, and it does have to do with our identity. Being the cusp of the first house in a chart is all about you, yourself, your identity. So the ascendant and the sign that is at that point has a lot to say about how the identity moves forward, how the identity puts itself into action, how it initiates things. All of those terms, moving forward, initiating, becoming, all of those are ascendant words. They go along with the first house, the Aries Mars flavor that kind of overlaps with it. And the ascendant, that sign also determines the ruler of the chart, which is the planet that rules the sign on the ascendant. That planet and its activity has a lot to say about how a person's identity and personality moves forward. When you get into the idea of esoteric astrology, the ascendant is given a little bit um, more sway. It's more related to the identity, and the moon and the sun are actually not considered sacred planets in esoteric astrology. They're considered to veil other planets, so that when we really fine tune our moon personality, so it's a vehicle of service that is working to express the energies of our sun sign that create vitality and generate energy. We're doing those things. They are seen to just be veiling or covering for Uranus, and then eventually for Neptune. So Neptune and Uranus are subtle transpersonal energies that work through our identity. So they are transmitting through our sun sign and transmitting through our moon sign. So the more that the moon sign is perfecting its sign without falling trapped to the prisons, the shadow side of that sign, and the more the sun is expressing our higher self, and not just screaming and blaring its ego, then those signs when they find that moderation, that temperance and balance, then their motive and the way that they put themselves into action, we can look to somebody's Uranus sign and see what a higher calling is. Uranus is working for collective. It's energies that are individualistic yet collective, and it's about higher mind. So those energies start to filter through, and then eventually Neptunian energies, which are totally selfless, filter through the sun and the moon a little bit more so. So That's one way that the sun and the moon transform when we look at them as parts of our identity in an esoteric spiritual nature. The ascendant then has a lot to say about who we are in an esoteric sense. That ascendant is the fastest moving point in a chart. So, the sun, anybody born on the same day as you has the same sun sign. The moon moves a little bit quicker. So we have the moon sign is more personally telling. It's more us. Out of all the people with the same sun sign, only a handful may have the same sun and moon sign. Well, then to have the same sun, moon, and ascendant, that would be very unique because the ascending sign changes every 2 hours. So it's one of the most personally defining features in a chart. And so the sign that's on the cusp of the ascendant is extremely important as far as what we are trying to become. We are becoming that part of our identity, that sign. Sometimes people may have sun or moon signs that are the same, or sun or ascendant signs. So there can be some overlap, there can be some differences, there can be some paradoxes, some opposites that are simultaneously true. But so, with regards to our identity, we can see parts of ourselves that are comfortable, familiar, habitual, routine, safety related, all of those things in our moon sign. And the house that our moon is in kind of shows what sector of life we feel comfortable in, where those needs and that sense of security is being concentrated. Then the sun sign is showing us how we want to express and generate energy and put ourselves outward into the environment in this kind of shining way that enlivens things. And the house that the sun is in kind of shows where that energy is working, where the sun is trying to shine, and what the houses represent a sign. So you kind of overlap the sign that your sun is in with the house that it's in, to get a little bit more idea about where those energies are expressing or in what manner. And then the ascendant sign is how we are moving forward, how we're taking action, and what we are becoming. And we can look at the planet that rules our ascendant sign to kind of get an idea about where the ascendant's journey is kind of taking us. So that is a quick nutshell for the sun, the moon, and the ascendant as key pieces of our identity, like what I call the Holy Trinity. And if you just sit with those three pieces in a chart, there's plenty to look at, plenty of signs and aspects and all that, but really tuning in to the sun, moon, and ascendant will really tune you into who you are. And you can see with your moon, are you serving in that way, or are you kind of being held back by the neuroses of that particular sign? With the sun sign, are you shining and enlivening things and generating energy through that sign? Or are you kind of expressing it just egotistically, all about yourself, drawing in the attention? And then the ascendant, as moving forward, we can see that the styles of that sign are how we take action, or what we are trying to become, versus, again, some of the negative or shadow sides of that sign that can be represented in the ascendant, that can be ways that we hold ourselves back from becoming or from taking action. So I hope this has been helpful. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. Feel free to visit my website, www.ledintogold.com, to get more content. I'm also on Instagram. Find me wherever you do online stuff. And if you would like to comment, feel free to tell me what your sun, moon, and ascendant signs are. And if I can, I will get back to you with a short snippet that puts those three pieces together so you can see how that outfit fits. So, well, have a good day, everybody. Thanks for coming in, and I look forward to talking with you again sometime. Bye.